When my sister kicked me out over my tattoo, claiming it was a bad influence on her kids, I refused to pay for their European trip and instead spent their college fund on myself. I never thought I would be starting over at 33. Just a few years ago, my life felt complete, a picture of domestic bliss with Mike at my side. He was everything I could have imagined, a brilliant doctor who saved lives, a gifted guitarist who played with his soul, and the kindest person I had ever met. We had been together for 5 years, and I had no doubt we were destined to grow old together. Mike had a deep love for his motorcycle, and I would often playfully call him a weekend warrior, as he traded his white lab coat for a leather jacket and the open road. It was that perfect duality, the steady hand of a physician and the free spirit of a rider, that made him the man I loved. One ordinary morning, the routine was the same. He kissed me goodbye, grabbed his helmet, and promised a quick ride before his hospital shift. But that ride would be his last. A driver, ignoring a red light, stole him from me, and in that instant my world was torn to shreds. The first months after the accident are a hazy void in my memory. I buried myself in my work as a programmer, taking on every project I could find, desperate to fill the silence in my mind. My sister, Sarah, despite her often critical nature, was my anchor during that time. She'd bring her 2 sons, Tommy and Jake, over to my place. Their youthful energy and simple presence made the crushing weight a little more bearable. For 3 years, I existed in this strange purgatory. I wasn't dating, wasn't truly living, just going through the motions. My programming job was a comfortable distraction, and the money I earned was enough to keep Sarah afloat as a single mother after her difficult divorce. A week ago, Mike's old bandmates gathered at my apartment. We still do this sometimes, get together, share stories, and laugh through our tears. Dave, the lead singer, brought out Mike's old guitar. "Remember how he'd say music was medicine for the soul?" Dave asked, strumming a gentle chord. The words resonated with me in a way they hadn't before, and in that moment, a profound realization hit me. I needed a permanent way to honor Mike's memory, not just for him, but for myself. I needed a tribute that would mark the end of my grieving and the beginning of my journey forward. I had always been averse to tattoos, finding them too bold and permanent for my reserved personality. But the thought of getting Mike, a guy with a guitar over his shoulder, etched onto my skin felt profoundly right. It was the perfect tribute to the man who taught me that life was meant to be lived with courage and passion. The tattoo parlor was a surprise, a clean, well-lit space that felt more like a gallery than a stereotypical studio. The artist, Anna, had a calm demeanor that instantly put me at ease. I showed her the reference photos I had of Mike, guitar in hand, and she nodded, her eyes full of understanding. For hours later, I was mesmerized by the art on my arm. The detail was breathtaking, Mike's distinct profile, his familiar pose, and that gentle smile he only ever wore while playing. It was agonizingly painful, but worth every second. 2 weeks later, the tattoo was beautifully healed. It was time to visit Sarah and the boys. I wore a long-sleeved jacket as I pulled into her driveway on a Saturday afternoon. As soon as I knocked, I could hear Tommy and Jake thundering down the stairs. "Aunt Tasha!" Tommy, at 12, tackled me with a hug. Jake, a self-conscious 15-year-old, stayed a step back but couldn't hide his grin. "Hey, Aunt Tash," he said. Sarah appeared behind them, her smile reaching her eyes. "Perfect timing, I just made lunch," she said. The house was warm, and without thinking, I slipped off my jacket. My short-sleeved t-shirt revealed the new tattoo on my arm. A sudden, tense quiet fell over the room. It was broken by Tommy's exuberant shout. "No way! Is that Uncle Mike?" He rushed over to inspect it. "It's so cool! Look, Jake, it's got his guitar." Jake, his teenage reserve forgotten, moved closer. "That's actually really awesome, Aunt Tasha. It looks just like him." Just then, Sarah's voice cut through the boys' enthusiasm, sharp as glass. "Tasha, what were you thinking? That's hideous. I can't believe you do something so permanent without consulting anyone." My cheeks burned, but I held my gaze steady. "Sarah, I didn't need to consult anyone. It's my body, and I'll decide what to do with it. Her stare could have frozen fire, but she didn't say another word. We sat down to lunch, and while the boys excitedly shared their memories of Mike and peppered me with questions about the tattoo, Sarah sat silently, radiating disapproval. Every time I looked up, her eyes were fixed on my arm as if it were a personal insult. That evening, the inevitable phone call came. Mom's name on the screen sent a shiver of dread through me. Tasha. Her voice was a familiar blend of disappointment and judgment. Your sister just told me about what you've done to yourself. I have to say, I don't approve. Mom, I'm 33 years old. I interrupted, my patience wearing thin. I don't need your approval for decisions about my body. She made a sharp, snorting sound, the one she used when she felt her authority slipping away, and hung up without another word. In the weeks that followed, I immersed myself in a new, demanding coding project, a welcome excuse to avoid family conflict. But eventually, the project settled, and I couldn't dodge them forever. When I went back to Sarah's house, I knew instantly something was wrong. Her face was tight, a sure sign of a coming argument. The boys greeted me enthusiastically, but Sarah's voice cut them off. Boys, go upstairs. I need to have a serious conversation with your aunt. The door to their room closed with a decisive click, leaving a heavy silence. What's going on? I asked, confused. Sarah crossed her arms, her eyes narrow. Do you know what Tommy asked me yesterday? He wanted to know if he could get a tattoo when he turned 16. And Jake has been looking up artists online. Sarah, they're just kids. They can't get tattoos without parental consent. I tried to reason. And when they're adults, they'll make their own choices, just like I did. Their own choices? She hissed, her voice rising. They never talked about tattoos before you showed up with that thing. This is your fault. Tattoos are everywhere these days, I countered, trying to stay calm. You can't seriously blame me for them being interested. Don't you dare rationalize this, she practically yelled, her body trembling. First, they'll want tattoos, then what? They'll start smoking, then drinking, and before you know it, they'll be on drugs. You have no idea what you've started. I felt like I was in a bizarre comedy. Sarah, this is absurd, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I go to the gym 4 times a week. The wildest thing I drink is kombucha. You know all this. It doesn't matter, she said, her face flushed red. The fact is, you've changed. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I don't want you coming to my house anymore. You're a bad influence on my boys. I couldn't help but laugh, a short, bitter sound. A bad influence because of a tattoo? Sarah, do you even hear yourself? Don't mock me, she snapped. I'm serious. I want you to leave, and don't come back. This is insane, I said, grabbing my purse. Call me when you've come to your senses. I walked out of her house that day, feeling as though I had woken up in a bad dream. How had a simple tattoo, a beautiful piece of art honoring Mike, become a family-destroying drama? Still, I believed she would eventually cool off. She had to, right? So I kept sending her the monthly utility money, reasoning that her financial situation shouldn't suffer because of her ridiculousness. But as the weeks passed, something else began to gnaw at me, the boys. Tommy and Jake hadn't reached out. No texts, no calls, no silly memes. The thought of Sarah using them as pawns in this war of wills made my blood boil. 2 months crawled by. Thanksgiving approached, and the silence was deafening. No one had called to make plans. I told myself Mom must have forgotten, but I knew she never had in my entire life. So, I did what I always did. I bought thoughtful gifts, a new gaming console for Tommy, expensive art supplies for Jake's portfolio, and a fancy coffee maker for Sarah. I pulled up to my parents' house, my trunk full of presents, trying to remain optimistic. Surely, a tattoo couldn't ruin our biggest holiday. But the moment I stepped through the door, the air felt wrong. The usual chaos was replaced by a strange tension. They all stared at me, Sarah, Mom, Dad, and the boys, as if I were an apparition. Tasha. Mom's voice was sharp. What are you doing here? I stood there, feeling foolish, my arms laden with gift bags. What do you mean? It's Thanksgiving. I brought presents for everyone. We didn't invite you, Mom said slowly, as if speaking to a slow-witted child. We thought you'd understand that meant you weren't supposed to come. My gifts felt like a lead weight. Understand what? Why wouldn't I be invited to Thanksgiving? Sarah stepped forward, arms crossed. Because we don't need you showing off that tattoo and filling my children's heads with inappropriate ideas. The boys were staring at the floor, their shoulders hunched. Are you kidding me? We're still on this? I set the gifts down with a thud. It's a symbol of rebellion and disrespect, Sarah shrieked. Oh my God! I ran my hands through my hair in disbelief. Uncle Jim has a full sleeve of tattoos. Cousin Rachel just got a massive phoenix. Nobody said a word about those. My mother jumped in. That's different, Tasha. You should have consulted us first. You know how we feel. Consulted you? I felt tears of frustration welling up. I'm 33 years old. Why would I need to consult anyone about what I do with my own body? Because we're your family, Sarah shouted. Because we have values. Because actions have consequences. The only consequences here are the ones you're creating. I shot back, my voice shaking. This tattoo is for Mike. It's my way of keeping him with me. That's when Sarah delivered the final, devastating blow. Oh, don't start with that again, she sneered. I never liked him anyway, always showing off with that stupid guitar. You know what? I'm glad he got hit by that car. Maybe now you'll finally grow up. The room spun. I could barely breathe. Apologize, I whispered, the word gaining strength as I repeated it. Apologize right now for what you just said about Mike. Sarah lifted her chin in defiance. I won't apologize for telling the truth. Mom, Dad, I want her out of here. She's ruining Thanksgiving. I looked at my parents, waiting for them to say something, anything, to defend me. Instead, my mother stood up, smoothing her skirt with trembling hands. Tasha, I think you should go, she said quietly. I stared at their faces, my father, avoiding eye contact, my mother, her lips a thin line of shame, Sarah's triumphant expression, and my nephew's confused looks. Without a word, I gathered the gift bags and walked out. The drive to the local homeless shelter was a blur. I mechanically handed the gifts to a surprised volunteer, explaining that everything, the gaming console, the art supplies, the expensive coffee maker, was new and unopened. Back home, I sat in the darkness, a strange calm settling over me. I thought about all the things I'd done for my family, the monthly utility payments for Sarah, the trips, the school clothes for the boys, the tutoring, and the college funds I had been carefully building for 2 years. I thought of Mike and what he would say. He'd probably make a joke, then get serious, and remind me that love and generosity shouldn't be a one-way street. I opened my laptop, my mind suddenly clear. The email to Sarah was concise and direct. Sarah, I wrote. I've had time to think about what happened today. I will no longer be sending monthly payments for your utilities. Since you feel I'm such a negative influence, I'm sure you wouldn't want to rely on my money. The Europe trip I planned for Christmas is cancelled, for you and the boys, at least. I'll be going alone. For the past 2 years, I've been setting aside money for Tommy and Jake's college education. Given your concern about my influence, I'll be closing these accounts and investing the money elsewhere. Please explain to the boys why they won't be getting their Christmas surprises this year. Feel free to tell them it's because their aunt's tattoo makes her an unfit influence. Tasha. I hit send and immediately turned off my phone. My hands were shaking, but my mind was at peace. For the first time since Mike died, I felt like I was truly standing up for myself. The next morning, my phone became a battlefield. I turned it on to find dozens of missed calls, texts, and voicemails. How dare you punish my children? Sarah's text read. This is selfish, Mom said. Your sister needs that money, my father's pleaded. None of them, not a single one, mentioned Sarah's cruel words about Mike, or apologized for their behavior. 2 weeks later, the aggressive knocking on my door startled me. "Tasha, open this door right now!" Sarah's voice carried through the door. "We need to talk." I heard Mom chime in. "Sweetheart, please let's talk about this like adults." "I don't want to talk to any of you," I called back. "Please leave. You're being malicious. You're being vindictive." Sarah's voice was laced with tears. I put on my noise-canceling headphones and retreated to my office, letting their voices fade away. The pre-Christmas weeks felt like psychological warfare. The family sent a new emissary every day: Aunt Linda, Cousin Mark, Uncle Peter. They all used the same line: "Family has to stick together." Each time, I ended the call or deleted the message. They didn't understand that I wasn't the one who had destroyed our family. Then, one morning, Sarah ambushed me outside my apartment. "Tasha, please, we need to talk," she pleaded, hurrying through the light snow. "I've been thinking about what I said about Mike. I'm sorry." I stopped, adjusting my bag. The words I had longed to hear for weeks sounded hollow. "Are you sorry, Sarah?" I asked, my voice flat. "Or are you just sorry that I'm not paying your bills anymore? Sorry that the Europe trip is off? Sorry that the boys' college funds are gone?" Her face flushed. "That's not fair. The boys shouldn't be punished because of me." I laughed, a humorless sound. "You know what's not fair? You banned me from seeing them over a tattoo. You said you were glad Mike died. But now that the money's gone, suddenly you want to make amends? The college funds," she cried, her voice cracking. "You can't just, that was for their future." "You're right, it was," I said, cutting her off. "But according to you, I'm a bad influence. Wouldn't that make my money bad too? We wouldn't want my corrupt tattoo money ruining your children's futures, would we? This is the consequence of your choices, Sarah. You can't have it both ways. Either I'm a bad influence, and everything associated with me is harmful, or I'm their aunt who loves them and wants to help. Pick one." I turned and walked into my building, telling Jerry, the concierge, that my sister and parents were no longer welcome. Christmas came, and for the first time in my life, I spent it alone. I was in Paris, then Rome, then Barcelona. I posted no pictures, but I heard through the family grapevine all about their complaints about their selfish daughter who abandoned them over just a tattoo. As I stood on a bridge in Venice, watching the sunset paint the canals in shades of gold and pink, I realized they were missing the point entirely. This wasn't about the tattoo. It had never been about the tattoo. This was about a power dynamic that had been in place long before I honored Mike's memory with ink. The day I returned from Europe, I did something I should have done 3 years ago. I made an appointment with a therapist. "Tell me why you're here," Dr. Martinez said, her voice gentle. I touched the tattoo on my arm. "I need to work through some things. Family stuff, mainly. And I need to figure out how to let go of someone I lost while still keeping his memory alive." She nodded patiently. "I love Mike, still love him, but I know he wouldn't want me living in the past. He always said life was meant to be lived boldly. And for the first time since his death, I feel like I'm actually doing that." Looking down at the tattoo, I understood. This was no longer just a memorial to Mike. It had become a symbol of my own strength, a mark of my willingness to live life on my own terms. The image of Mike with his guitar seemed to smile back at me, eternally caught in a moment of joy. He would always live in my heart, but now it was time to see what other joy life had in store for me.